She said, I need some time to find myself. I said, take all the time you need. Then I changed the Netflix password and took her off my health insurance. Funny how fast she found herself showed up at my door 72 hours later. I'm 33, a software engineer, and I thought my relationship with Melissa, 30, was solid. We'd been together 5 years, shared an apartment, bills, even holiday traditions. Sure, we had arguments, but nothing I thought would lead to this. 3 nights ago, she sat me down on our couch with that rehearsed tone. The dreaded, it's not you, it's me speech. Only this time, she dressed it up with phrases like finding herself and needing space. My gut told me this wasn't about self-discovery. It was about someone else, but I didn't interrupt. I just nodded, listened, and when she finally finished, I smiled and said the line that froze her. Take all the time you need. Her eyes flickered. She expected begging, pleading, maybe tears. Instead, she got calm acceptance. She kissed my cheek like she was doing me a favor, then walked out with a bag. That night, I poured myself a whiskey, opened my laptop, and got to work, not on winning her back, on removing her from the privileges of being in my life. First, Netflix. A small cut, but it felt symbolic. Next, Spotify, Hulu, and the Prime account. Then came the real one. I called HR and removed her from my health insurance coverage. She had begged me to add her last year, claiming her job's plan was too expensive. Without me, she'd be paying triple. By midnight, I leaned back in my chair and let out a long breath. She wanted space. She got it. She wanted independence. Now she could finance it, and I didn't say a word. No dramatic texts, no emotional calls, just silence. By the second day, I got 3 messages from her. One casual, hey, how are you? Day. Followed by, did you change the Netflix password? And finally, call me, this isn't funny. I ignored all 3. On the 3rd morning, just as I was about to leave for work, I heard frantic knocking on my door. When I opened it, there she was, hair messy, eyes red, holding her phone like it was a lifeline. Can we talk? She said, voice shaking. In that moment, I realized something. She hadn't gone to find herself. She'd gone to find what she thought was better. But reality had already slapped her before I even had to. And I wasn't about to make it easy for her. She stood there on my doorstep like a student caught skipping class. Melissa, the woman who needed space, now shaking like she had nowhere else to go. Can we talk? She repeated. I crossed my arms, leaning against the doorframe. About what? Finding yourself. Or finding my Netflix password. Her lips pressed together. Sarcastic jab landed harder than I expected. She pushed past me and walked into the apartment, like she still owned the air inside. I closed the door but didn't stop her. Instead, I watched as she paced the living room, wringing her hands. Finally, she blurted, this isn't what I thought it would be. There it was, not even 72 hours, and the independent journey of self-discovery was already falling apart. I almost laughed. Melissa, I said calmly, you wanted a break? You asked for space? I respected that. So what's changed? She sat on the couch and buried her face in her hands. I thought I needed to figure out who I was without us, but everything got complicated. I stayed standing, arms still crossed. Complicated how? Her silence told me more than words. I knew. I'd bet every cent in my savings that there was someone else involved. Her sudden urge to find herself wasn't some spiritual quest. It was a poorly disguised exit strategy. Finally, she whispered, I don't want to lose you. I tilted my head. You sure? Because 3 days ago, you were pretty convinced that leaving me was what you needed. She looked up, eyes glossy. I made a mistake. I thought I wanted something different, but she hesitated. He wasn't what I thought. There it is, I thought. Confirmation. She had left to chase another guy. A younger fling. A what if. And when that fantasy collapsed, she came crawling back. But instead of anger, what I felt was clarity. She'd already shown me her priorities, already told me without words what I was worth to her. So I leaned forward slightly and asked, Melissa, do you want me back? Or do you just want the perks that came with me? Her face twisted, caught between guilt and desperation. She didn't answer. That silence was louder than anything she could have said. I gave a small nod, more to myself than to her. That's what I thought. She flinched, like I had just slammed a door she wasn't ready to admit was closed. And for the first time, I realized I wasn't the one losing here. Melissa reached for my hand like she used to when she was nervous. I didn't move. Her fingers hovered in the air between us, before she slowly pulled them back. "Please," she said. "I messed up. It wasn't serious. I thought he was different." But the second I left, I realized what I was throwing away. I almost laughed again, not because it was funny, but because the desperation was so textbook. The whole, "I didn't know what I had until it was gone" act. "Melissa," I said carefully, "you didn't mess up. You made a choice. You thought there was greener grass. Turns out it was just weeds." Her eyes widened, like she wasn't expecting me to call it exactly what it was. She leaned forward, but I came back. "Doesn't that mean anything?" I shook my head slowly. "It means you burned the bridge, realized you couldn't swim, and decided you liked the bridge after all." The silence that followed was heavy. She shifted uncomfortably, then tried another angle. "We can work through this. We've been together too long to throw it all away over one mistake." One mistake. My voice stayed calm, almost too calm. "Melissa, people don't accidentally walk out of their relationship to test drive someone else. That's not a mistake. That's a decision." She blinked hard, fighting tears. But her performance wasn't moving me anymore. I saw through it. She wasn't crying because she lost me. She was crying because she lost the safety net. Finally, I sat down across from her, leaning forward. "Be honest. Did you really come back for me? Or did you come back because things with him didn't work out?" She looked away. That tiny pause told me everything. I stood back up. "Exactly." Melissa jumped to her feet. "So what? You're just done with me? Just like that?" I shrugged. "You ended this the second you walked out." "I'm just finishing what you started." Her voice cracked. "But I thought you loved me." I nodded slowly. I did. Past tense. The words hung in the air like a final nail in the coffin. She staggered back onto the couch, clutching herself like the wind had been knocked out of her. And in that moment, I knew something she didn't. She had no power left here. The next morning, my phone buzzed, before I'd even had my coffee. It was a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I picked up. "Hello. Is this how you treat my daughter?" The voice was sharp, authoritative. Melissa's father. I closed my eyes, already knowing where this was headed. "Good morning to you too," I said evenly. He didn't bite at the civility. She told us everything. "You're being cruel. She made a mistake and you're punishing her like a child." "What kind of man does that?" I almost laughed. "The kind of man who values honesty. It's the kind of man who doesn't fund betrayal." Silence crackled on the line. Then he tried again. "You two can fix this. She loves you. Don't throw away a marriage over her sleeping with someone else." Cut in. "Yeah, I think that's a valid reason to walk away." His tone hardened. "You don't mean that. You've invested years with her. Families don't just dissolve over one bump in the road." "One bump?" I repeated. My voice calm but as cold. "If a car loses all 4 tires, that's not a bump. That's a crash." He muttered something under his breath, then raised his voice. "You're making a mistake, son." I smiled grimly, even though he couldn't see it. Funny, that's exactly what Melissa said before she left to find herself. I think I'll trust my own judgment this time. I ended the call before he could respond. Not even an hour later, I got a flurry of texts from Melissa. "You didn't have to involve my dad. Why are you making this so much harder? Can we please just talk?" I didn't reply. By evening, there was a knock at my door. Loud, urgent. When I opened it, Melissa stood there again, this time with her mother beside her. Arms crossed, glaring at me like I'd committed a crime. Melissa's voice cracked. "Please, just hear me out one more time." Her mother chimed in sharply. "Ah! Do you know how embarrassing this is for our family? Do you understand what people will think if this gets out?" I raised an eyebrow. "Oh, so now it's about appearances, not what your daughter actually did." Her mom stiffened. Melissa just stared at me, wide-eyed, like she was silently begging me not to humiliate her further. But the thing was, I hadn't even started. I stood in the doorway, Melissa and her mother glaring at me like I was the villain of this saga. I let the silence stretch long enough to make them squirm. Then I finally spoke. "You're right," I said evenly, looking at her mom. "Reputation matters." Which is exactly why I don't want to waste another day pretending everything is fine. Her mother's face paled, while Melissa shook her head desperately. Please, don't say anything." I stepped back inside, grabbed my phone, and pulled up the evidence folder I had neatly stored away. Screenshots, messages, timestamps. Proof that Melissa hadn't just needed space, but had been using that space to entertain someone else. "See? Melissa wanted to find herself," I said, my tone almost casual. "But what she really found was an excuse to test drive someone younger. That's not a mistake. That's a choice." Her mom's eyes darted between us, searching for any hint that I was bluffing. Melissa's silence was all the confirmation she needed. Her mom whispered harshly, "Do you have any idea what this will do to us?" I tilted my head. "With all due respect, ma'am, your daughter made her choices. I just decided not to subsidize them." Melissa's hands shot out, grabbing my arm. "Stop it. Don't ruin me like this." I pulled back slowly, looking her dead in the eye. "I didn't ruin you, Melissa. You ruined yourself. I just stopped protecting you from the fallout." Her mother hissed something under her breath and yanked Melissa away from the doorway. "Come on." This was a mistake. As they stormed off, I closed the door behind them. But I wasn't done. That night, I drafted an email to the dean of Melissa's program at the university. See, not only had we been married, but I'd been quietly funding some of her continuing education. The dean knew me personally because my company had made several generous donations to the school. I didn't embellish or slander. I simply laid out the truth. Melissa had been dishonest, manipulative, and was now trying to drag my name and finances down with her. I made it clear I no longer intended to support her enrollment. The next morning, I got a reply. "We appreciate your candor and will be addressing this situation immediately." For the first time in weeks, I felt a weight lift off my chest. I wasn't just defending myself anymore, I was reclaiming control. But Melissa? She was about to learn what it felt like to have doors start closing. 2 days after I sent that email, Melissa was back at my door. This time she wasn't yelling, she wasn't posturing, she was crying. Her makeup was smeared, her hair a mess, and for the first time in years, she looked small. "They suspended me," she whispered. "The dean said my enrollment is on hold until further review." "You're talking about rescinding my scholarship." I leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. "That's unfortunate, but maybe this is your chance too. Find yourself." Her face twisted. "You don't have to do this. Please, I'm begging you. We can fix this. Just take me back. We don't have to tell anyone." There it was, the desperation. Not love, not regret, just fear of losing everything. I shook my head slowly. "Melissa, you didn't want me? You wanted options? You wanted me to bankroll your lifestyle while you played with freedom on the side? That's not marriage. It's a subscription plan." She flinched, tears running down her face. "I made a mistake." "No," I said firmly. "You made a choice. A mistake is tripping on the stairs. What you did? That was deliberate." Her mother appeared at the bottom of my driveway, clearly waiting to swoop in if things went her way. Melissa turned, waving her arms. "He won't listen," she shouted. Her mom called back, "Then make him listen." I almost laughed. I still thought I could be pressured. They hadn't realized the truth. I was done being manipulated. "Melissa," I said, lowering my voice so only she could hear, "you walked away. I let you. Now you want to walk back in because the world isn't as kind without me cushioning it. It's not my problem anymore." Her sobbing grew louder. "Please don't ruin me. Don't let me lose everything." I opened the door just a little wider, not to invite her in, but to hand her a small box. Inside was her phone, her things I'd found scattered around the house, and a plain envelope with the divorce papers ready to be signed. "This is closure," I said simply. "Sign them, and maybe you'll actually find yourself this time." She stared at the envelope as if it weighed 1,000 pounds. Finally, she backed away, clutching the box like it was a coffin. Her mother rushed to steady her, glaring at me with venom. But I just smiled, because for the first time in months, I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter. I was free. That night, I poured myself a drink and sat in silence. No more mind games, no more ultimatums, no more waiting for someone to decide if I was enough. Melissa had wanted a break. I gave her one. And it turned out the only person who actually broke was her. If you made it this far, hit that like button, because walking away with your self-respect is always worth it. Subscribe for more. And tell us in the comments, what would you have done if someone pulled a finding myself move on you?